Good afternoon. Everybody happy, healthy, and staying dry? That's excellent. All right, so this is not going to work. Thank you, Mara, for turning your camera on. Thank you, Frank. Got to have some people to talk to, so get those cameras on. There you go. Look at all those beautiful people popping up from behind their names. I love it. All right, so we've got 59 minutes or so to spend together, and we can spend it pretty much any way that you would like. While you're kind of thinking through challenges and or successes that you want to make sure that you share with each other or ask questions around, I wanted to kind of kick us off this morning or this afternoon by having a conversation around what you learned, what you heard, your ahas from the last couple of events that you attended, right? A week and a half ago or so, many of you were in that regional event, that all-day mega regional event with those panels, and Adam Hergenrother and Noah Ostroff, all of whom were awesome. And then just last week, Wednesday and Thursday, you were with Gene Rivers for 2 afternoons for Business Planning Clinic, right? So talk to me a little bit about what your ahas were. What did you pull away from those events? What did you hear? What are you implementing from those events? Hello? Yeah, Tony.
The biggest thing, it was just really simple, and I think I brought it up before, and I really just tried to sort of be mindful of it during the course of my day. And I'm not sure who even said it, but the question was, would you work for you? And it's really helped me to kind of be more accountable and just imagine myself setting an example that somebody else is watching. And it's really simple, but it's helped me a lot.
Yeah, I love that. I can tell you that I fire myself 3 or 4 times a week, just in case anyone's wondering.
Me too.
Right. And then I have to beg to come back, and it's a whole big scene. And ultimately I hire myself back and make a deal that I'll do better next time. Right. But here's the thing. Are you wearing 2 caps? Are you wearing your CEO cap, and are you wearing your sole employee of your organization cap, right? Because if you just wear the employee cap, there's not a whole lot of accountability, right? That surrounds that. And if you only wear your CEO cap, you oftentimes get to kind of sit above it all and say, well, I'm not going to do any of that stuff because I'm the CEO. I own the business. Well, yes, that's correct. Right? Anybody ever walk into a market center and see me sitting at the front desk answering the telephone? Because that's sometimes what you do when you own the business, right? That's just the way it works. So I love that. I love that. I think there's some stuff going on in the chat here. I have to open it up just a second. Julie says Gene Rivers was awesome. Yes, that's because it's just one of the best business lines that I know. And what I love about Gene is that he is just so direct, honest, to the point. Like, let's not make a whole big to do about this. Let's just do the activities that ultimately bring us those results. Yeah, very, very, very disciplined and very like no drama, right? No BS. That's Gene. What else? What else did you get from those events? Did anyone besides Tony go to the events? Oh, Tony.
Yeah, Rick, I got one.
Yeah, Stuart.
Let's say sphere and also follow-up. So sphere of influence and follow-up as well is what I got out of it.
Yeah, so recognize that, your sphere is a subset of your database, right? Right, your database is this big, huge thing with past clients in it and vendors in it, other agents perhaps, a referral network, people that your expireds that you spoke to, people from the open houses from the last year and a half. Like, your database is a bigger ticket than some of the subsets inside of it. And your sphere of influence is one of the most important subcategories inside of your database. Because think of why we call it what we call it. It's your sphere of influence, right? What's the key word there? Influence, that's correct, right? If you don't have influence over people, how are you going to have them hire you when the time comes, right? So what are you doing with that sphere of influence? How are you engaging them? What are you doing? When are you doing it? How often are you doing it? Or have we made a decision to create a real estate organization that doesn't rely on people knowing who we are and what we do? I can tell you, if you've made that decision, you've made a poor decision as a business owner, right? You've just made a poor decision. It doesn't make you a bad human being. You've just made a poor decision as a business owner to exclude the people who know you, like you, trust you, and are already predisposed to do business with you. So let's stick there a second. What are you doing? What are you doing with that sphere? How are you communicating with them? What are you giving them? How are you being attractive to them?
Reaching
Sorry.
out, texting them, emailing them, asking to go out for coffee.
Yeah, I love all those things, right? And I especially love the text that asks for coffee appointments, right? And so Mara puts a whole bunch of things on the table, but here's the question: is there a system around it, and how consistent is it, right? Do you have everybody in a place that you know who you've spoken to and who you haven't spoken to? Who needs your attention next? Who hasn't been out for coffee in a while? Who's kind of weirdly avoiding you lately? You need to pay attention to those people. And so be certain that you have a structure and a system around that to keep the lines of communication open. What else? What else are you doing? Yeah, Dave.
I think it's not just contact with the people, but thinking and putting yourself in their shoes. What's the value that each person has? What do they care about? Do they just like you, want to help you? That's great. That's one thing. Are they looking to buy a house personally sometime? Are they maybe thinking about ways to diversify their investment portfolio for their retirement? I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's, friends are not going to keep talking to you unless you bring some value. It's all about them in sales, in my opinion. And so you got to customize the message. Don't just go to coffee, just have coffee.
Well, and so I agree with that almost all the way through to the end, right? And here's why I agree with that almost all the way through to the end. Everything you said, I think, is brilliant. I would encourage, though, that there are a whole bunch of people who are unwilling or frightened to talk to their databases. And so the reason I push people to text for coffee appointments is to break the ice, to get you talking personally so that you can then create confidence to go back and talk business, right?
I agree with that. Yeah, totally agree with that 100%. I see what you're saying. Yeah, and until you know what they want, then you got to have that coffee. I totally agree with that.
100%.
No, we're on the same page there, without a doubt. Absolutely.
And the other side of what Dave said, but he didn't actually say the words, is this: what are you giving them, right? It's not just about, hey, I'm in real estate, help me, right? It's the law of reciprocity. Are you providing value and showing people why it's kind of cool to know you as a professional? What are you giving them so that law of reciprocity kicks back in, so that when they hear about somebody who's looking to buy, sell, or create wealth by investing in real estate, they do have them reach out to you or put you in touch with them, right? That was the whole point of our Sign In to Win thing that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, right? So how is that going?
Great.
Yeah, right. So I see the back end of it. We've got a bazillion submissions, right? And I also see the back end of it saying, that there are people who are responding to some of those questions that I hope you're reviewing your lists and calling those people, because some of them are like, hi, my niece needs to buy a house, or hi, funny you sent this card to me because I need to list my house, right? And if you're not receiving those responses, that's okay. Just keep pushing the program. we've still got another 3 days before we reach back out to people. Send another email if you didn't do it yesterday. Post it again online if you didn't do that over the weekend. Send another round of texts this week, right? Push it this week so that you get as much out of it as you possibly can, right? Don't let that opportunity evaporate, because it's not every day that somebody offers you $3,200 worth of prizes for the people in your database. So make sure that you're taking advantage of that. Make sense? What else? What else are you doing proactively to find business? Whether it's with your database or not.
Open house.
Yeah, so how many people are hosting at least weekly open houses or twice weekly open houses?
Trying.
Well, you know what Yoda said, right? Do or do not. There is no try.
True that.
Right, and I'll take that back to Gene, right? Because it's just what I love about Gene Rivers is that the idea of finding business, about generating leads. If this is what we've now signed up to do, right? That's kind of the thing that you do every day. And so I go back to where Tony started this whole conversation, and that is, so if you don't like the conversation today, it ultimately is Tony's fault. That's really what I'm saying. But where Tony started this conversation was, you know, would I hire myself? Or what if I was being reviewed by myself, you know, do I get to keep my job? He said it more eloquently than I did, but you get that point, right? And so the idea of finding and seeking out business, that's another one of those objective check boxes that you get to do. See, I don't consider it a day of work unless I found a new appointment. And way too many real estate agents go on and on and on about how hard they work and the long hours and, oh my goodness, I'm doing all this stuff, but there was no new appointment for the day. So ultimately, then what did you do, really? If you're not focused on business development, if you're not focused on generating leads and then converting those leads into appointments, did you really work? My personal opinion is no. Again, I don't give myself credit for a day of work if I haven't done some version of lead generation. Right? And then what does that start to look like? Because if you were doing it every single day, guess what? You'd have more business than you know what to do with. And so if you don't have more business than you know what to do with, there's one way to change that. Just generate more leads. Do it more consistently and do it at a higher level. And I always have to watch the numbers to see if people are tuning me out and logging off because they think I'm mean and nasty and unreasonable, right? Here's what I can tell you. I don't think I'm any of those things. Most especially, I don't think I'm unreasonable, simply because I've lived this industry both ways. I've lived this industry of thinking that my job was to do all this stuff during the course of a day that didn't have to do with finding new opportunities. And I didn't make the money I needed to make. And as soon as I switched my focus to finding new opportunities every single day and judged myself as to whether or not I worked based on whether I got a new appointment that day, everything changed. Everything changed. So I offer it not as a finger wag. I offer it as an opportunity, having been on both sides of it. Like, been there, done that. That one way is way better, right? Right. I've made very little money. I've made a decent amount of money. Making more money is just better. What else?
I have a question about sign in to win.
Yes.
I sent a gazillion emails out, and I'm fearing that they all went into the spam box because it just is unlikely that, only 2 people registered. I'm just trying to figure out, do I call one of them, say, did you look in your spam box for something I sent you, or,
Well, that's why the email is only one piece of the whole program. That's why there's text follow-up and there's voice follow-up and there's social media follow-up. So yeah, I wouldn't call one of them. I would call all of them.
right. I'll be up until 2 in the morning and they won't be. So,
Right. But the idea of, again, that whole program is built such that people receive things differently, they act on things differently. And if one of your paths goes haywire, if somebody doesn't, get the email, or you don't have the right number for the text or whatnot, there's all those other forms of, it's built on redundancy.
yeah, I did the
So-
text part through Trulio.
Mhm.
But I just haven't had that much results, but I have been volunteering a lot. So that's kind of gotten me into a good place with a lot of people. So,
Well, and here's the thing about results, right? If the sign in to win, if you're sending stuff to people who don't really know who you are, and I don't know, Diane, what your sphere is. I'm just making a generalization, right? Or what your database looks like. But the generalization I'm making is, if you're sending it to people who don't really know you, you're going to have a far smaller return than if it's focused on truly a sphere of influence and people who already know you, like you, and trust you, right? Because to people who don't know you, sometimes it just looks like a scam, or it looks like, this is just somebody's way to try and get my information, and so it just delete, right?
the problem is a lot of my friends are out of the geographic sphere here. So, just with my career, I know people worldwide and, all over the state. So it doesn't make sense to send them one, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, so what that says is that then the task at hand as a business owner is continuing to grow the database locally, right? Absolutely.
Right. Which I'm doing. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Anna. Yeah. Anna.
Yes, hi. I just want to say that I'm doing this sign to win, and I just want to make like analogy. I spoke to nutritionist and I said, well, my kid doesn't like that, veggies, and she said, Anna, you need to offer your kid 10 times, and after that you will see result. I would say it's exactly the same. I keep posted, I keep sending, they kind of like reject it or they doubt it, but then after like 3-4 times they sign up and they happy. So it's kind of like the same, and I have a good result.
That's a really great analogy, right? It's repetition, right? The way you teach your kids is repetition. The way, as adult learners, all of us on this call, the way we learn as adults, repetition. And so remember that your database is no different, right? Remember, your database is not sitting at home waiting anxiously for you to send an email or shoot a text about a contest. Like, that's not how they woke up this morning, saying, oh man, I certainly hope that my real estate agent is going to send me something really exciting today. That's not how it works. Right. So we have to send it and 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 call to make sure they got it, and then remind them to do it. And right. Because it's not just them recognizing it. They actually have to do something, and they have to want to do it. And it's not going to be for everybody. But I love that analogy, Anna, because I think I agree with it. It's why the program was 3.5 weeks long, and it's why there were all those touches, right? Because it's always a matter of remind them, repetition. And what's cool is, with all that repetition, even if they don't sign in to win, right? That's not the point. Let's remember the point of this whole program. The point of this whole program is to capture mind share of the people in your database, because mind share leads to market share. So the whole point of that program is to capture mind share. If you've sent and touched those people all those different times, you've made some headway into their head. And if not one of your people signs in to win, it wasn't a failure. I promise you that. It's just, you're playing the longer game, right? The short win is, did people sign in, and might one of my people win, or might I have uncovered some business right now that might have escaped me if I wasn't communicating with these folks. And then the long game, the long win is mind share, because that again turns into market share. Yes, ma'am, Mara.
Oh, yes. I actually talked to Steve about this morning because I post from the 9 a.m. we were talking about the KW app, which I always, I tend to stop doing that. So this morning, right after the call, or during the call, actually, I posted on my Facebook story a poll of who wants my KW app, explaining it, telling how it's better than Zillow and all of that. And within an hour, I got 8 leads. So I think posting polls, which I post a lot on my stories, because everybody on your social media doesn't always see your regular posts, but sometimes a lot more people will see your stories. And when you ask a question and they hit yes, then you respond to them. So that's pulling in more business all the time.
Yeah, that is so smart. I love that. I was texted that. I just haven't had a chance to follow. I haven't had a chance to follow back up with you, so to make sure that you're going to be on the 9 o'clock call tomorrow, because I want you to tell that story to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, well, because I was already given what you posted, right? Because I have a screenshot of it. So you've been the topic of conversation the last few hours. I just haven't made my way back to you yet.
Okay.
Right? Because here's the example that Mara is setting, right? She heard something this morning and said, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that tool." But that happens to all of us, right? Because there's so many different tools, so many different pieces. And so she heard that this morning and said, "Oh, I forgot about that tool," and just did something simple and quick. What she could have done was say, okay, so the KW app, let me go and find out where that is and find out how to use it and explore all the possibilities and, talk to 600 people about what they think about it and how it works and all this stuff. But she didn't do that. She said, "Oh yeah, that tool. I'm just going to post it and see what happens." And bam, she's got interaction. She's got opportunity. Remember, making money in real estate has everything to do with you putting yourself in the path of opportunity, which is different than me putting you in the path of opportunity, right? Or a brand or a whatever, right? It's you putting yourself in the path of opportunity and then responding to those opportunities, right? I know, sounding a little preachy today, but guys, here's the thing. I want to make sure that we're all really clear about how you utilize these tools, that without actually taking action, like Mara just described, you don't get the results. You've got to keep doing and doing and doing, and not getting caught up in the, I don't know enough about that. It's somebody told me it didn't work one time, right? And so the idea of, because that's what happens. That's what happens. We hear stuff, or we fill our own brains with obstacles. What if you just decided to do stuff and then figure it out as it came your way? Right? I have lived my entire life and most of my business from the perspective of jump out of the plane and knit the parachute on the way down. I've got really good at knitting really quickly, right? But here's the thing. I mentioned, I'm going to tell you guys a little secret, right? There are times, right? And many of you are on those 9 a.m. calls, and this is where it happens a lot. There are times where there's all these ideas in the back of my head, and I have them on a list, and I have them in my head, and I have to talk to your team leaders about them, or I have to talk to, the whoever about them to figure out how we're going to actually make something happen that's in the back of my head. And more times than not, what I do is I announce a new program or a new something or other to you guys before anybody else hears about it. Because what I know is if I announce it to 100 people, I now have no choice but to go and figure out how to get it done. Right? that sign in to win, again, just being transparent with you, that sign in to win was exactly one of those. It was an idea that Debbie and I were discussing and said, wouldn't it be cool to do that for the market center? And the very next morning, I got on that Zoom call and said, guess what we're doing for everybody? Like, and your team leaders were like, wait, what? How are we doing that? What does that look like? I don't know. Let's just figure it out now. Because now 100 people just heard me say it, and they're expecting us to follow up with something that we have to provide. So what if you just started knitting the parachute on the way down? I have never crashed. I've never hit the ground.
One more
See what I'm saying? Because the other version of that is you get in your own way, right? You create all these reasons why you can't actually take forward action. And the only thing that's getting in the way is you. You're standing in your own way. What if you just cleared the path, clear your own runway, and then just take off, right? Dave.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's brilliant, Rick. You basically self-impose an accountability coach on yourself is what you basically did in that.
Yeah.
So I love that, because accountability is everything. To yourself is the most important. So that's
I'll tell you I'll tell you another time we did it 6 months ago when I announced to everybody on a call that we were starting a KW real estate investment group so that we could invest in real estate together. I announced that. And again, your leadership were like, we have that? I'm like, well, we will by tomorrow, because now I have to figure out how to make it make sense. They're like, well, doesn't that mean like forming an LLC and having an operating agreement? I'm like, we'll figure it out. So I called my attorney and said, here's what I'm looking to do. You figure that part out. I'll just keep working with and we have a 20-person team, a 20-person organization that got funded, and we have 2 investment properties, right? I had the idea a decade ago and never got it off the ground. And so I just got so tired of waiting to implement my own ideas that now I just blurt them out and have to figure it out. So one of these days it might catch up to me, but it hasn't so far. Mara.
Oh, I was just going to say it's another great poll to do, because I did that. I put on the story, who would like to win a dinner for 10 at a gourmet restaurant or a Broadway weekend, and you put a poll, and if people answer yes, then that's your in.
100%. I love that. Great idea. Yeah, so it's like, ask the question. It's almost like you're getting permission first to now go and kind of bombard them with all the details of the of the program. But you're fishing first to say, hey, would anybody be interested in this? It's a great idea. I love it. So what else? What else are you doing to create business opportunities for yourselves? Do you remember what Gene talked with us about? I'm going to bring this up too, because I think it's just crazy important. The biggest aha I took away from Gene, and by the way, if you weren't a part of that regional mega event, or you didn't plug into Gene Rivers last week, we do have that recorded for you. The region recorded the mega event, and I was just sent the links yesterday, so those will go out to you so you can plug into that. And I personally recorded the business planning clinic, and so I'll send those links out to you as well. But here's the thing: when those things come up, make room in your calendar. Make room in your calendar. I do. Because here's the thing. What I pulled away from Gene was the simplest idea, but such a powerful reminder that we are lucky enough to be inside of an industry where we are the only people, each one of us is the only people who get to decide how much we earn. So the question I have is, are you satisfied with your choice of income? Right? You should write that question down. Are you satisfied with your choice of income? Because your results are your choice. And if you are, that's awesome. I'm not saying that I'm not implying that you shouldn't be or that you're not. It's just a simple question. Are you satisfied with your choice of income? I just want you to make sure that you're asking it the right way. And what I mean by that is, don't get caught in the, oh, it's so hard to sell a house nowadays. I wish things were different. I wish the market were different. I wish I had a little more experience under my belt. I wish. Like, be careful you don't get caught in that. Because you get to make the decision. Because what Gene was very clear about was figure out how much money you want to make and then convert that into how many houses you have to sell. And then just write a strategy to go and sell that many houses. Right? It's not complicated. As a matter of fact, when you say it out loud, it almost sounds kind of silly. Like, oh yeah, right, duh. And yet we allow ourselves to complicate things, don't we? It is not that complicated. How much do you want to earn? How many houses is that? And then just write a strategy to go and sell that many houses. If that's 5 houses or 20 houses or 50 houses or 150 houses or 350 houses, here's what I can promise you. Whatever your number is, someone's already done that. So we know it's possible. I take such comfort in that. When I look at my businesses and think, okay, so here's where I think I want to bring these businesses. Well, someone's already done that. So I don't have to worry about, is it possible? All I have to do is worry about, how am I doing it? What's the strategy? What's the next step? One foot in front of the other. Boom, 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 boom. The whole idea of possible is not really relevant. Make sense? All right, I've been doing a lot of yapping, so I'm going to stop doing that. We started with ahas from those events. Did any of you have any additional ahas that you wanted to make sure we shared? Anything you heard from Gene or from Noah or from Adam or from the panels? Hey, and don't forget, not only can you watch those events on the recordings, Tammy's got another event for you lined up. Just get with her and she'll get you in at no cost. It's an awesome day of cool stuff. Right, Tam?
Yes. If you try to buy the tickets online, they're $99. You can only get in from one.
Love it.
You
Love
listened to it last year too. Like, so you guys, we all think Rick knows everything. Rick was there. You were there for almost the whole thing.
Yeah. Here's what Rick is really good at. Rick is really good at listening and repeating.
Amen.
Listening and repeating. Listening and repeating. Finding cool things. Right? I wrote it in the chat this morning. Each and every one of those opportunities to sit and listen to somebody who's smarter than you are is an opportunity to bring away a pearl or 17 pearls, right? Rarely do I find an opportunity where I bring away one valuable piece of information. And yet, if I sat for 3 hours and brought away one valuable piece of information, it was worth my time in my book, right? So yeah, get with Tammy on that if you want to.
It's all over my Facebook. It's all over. I sent you guys an inter-office email today. Rick sent an email out today. It's on my Facebook. It's everywhere.
When is it,
Tam?
Tam?
I'm talking about November 3rd from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to record it.
Yeah, so it's next Wednesday, guys. And here's the thing. Please don't ask Tammy for a free ticket if you're not going to go, right? Because she has only limited ones, and she wants to make sure she maximizes it with people who will actually show up and bring something away. So if that's you, then connect with her and get that freebie. If that's not you, that's okay. We'll mastermind around it at a later date. John Mendez, what do you got?
The first thing I'm gonna second what Dave DeVito said. The ticket says that the
Yeah,
registration starts with tomorrow.
I'll have to try to fix that. Like, I'm a mortgage person and I'm really getting better at social media. I'm not an assistant, so I don't know what I did with Eventbrite. It's my very first time using Eventbrite, so I apologize. So we'll figure that out. But I know the tickets are there, so I will. I'll mess around with that while you guys are talking, so you guys will know.
And then
Okay.
the thing I wanted to say is my takeaway. I'm still at work, so I kind of got carried away. But my big aha from Gene Rivers was like planning my lifestyle. And me being so young, it's like there's a lot of life that I have to plan, and which is kind of daunting a little bit at times. It's like, well, who on earth knows what I'm going to be 10 years down the line? Kind of jumped into real estate because the pandemic, which is something that was completely unplanned. And I was like, it's a good opportunity. Like, why not just jump into it now? And it's like hearing him talk about lifestyle, knowing that it's okay to want certain things for like a nice car or a nice house, but just plan that back into your business, incorporate that back into your business. So if you want that nice car, if you want that nice clothes, you have to sell a little bit more houses, and then he breaks everything down in terms of, it makes everything more feasible, because if you work backwards from a goal, it makes you think of like little things you have to accomplish every day. So you can make a 25-year goal look like something very small if you just take it one step at a time. And that like really like put things into perspective for me.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love that. Right. And the idea, I don't know about the rest of you, but I look at things like, so if you're 20, well, set goals out to 30 and work backwards from 30, right? If looking at retirement at 70 seems ridiculous, right, to you right now, well, then don't do that. Go 10 years out and build your plan for the next 10 years of your life. And then as you approach 30, you just start doing it again for the next 10 years, right? Here's what I can tell you though. It seemed like yesterday to me that 70 seemed like it was forever. And now it's way closer than it ever was, right? So because time has a way of just kind of evaporating. And yet if you're always looking forward, and it's called goal setting to the now, right? You reach out for as long as you can see till, and then start bringing it back. If that's 5 years from now, well, what does 5 years from now look like? And then what does 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, and then every single month in that first year look like? Just start big and then pull it back, start big and pull it back. It doesn't always have to be, what does my life look like when I'm 75 years old, right? Doesn't always have to be that. You can go that far out if you know what that starts to look like, but if you don't, then don't. Pick a fixed spot in time and work it backwards, because then you'll be tracking against or through each of those smaller goals to make sure that you hit the bigger one.
So I got a question from that, Rick. So I think it was Gene that talked about when you're working towards a goal, you have to, think of like the 100% and build the habits to get to that 100%. And so at one point in time, so let's say I plan for 30 and start working backwards from there. Well, I still have to plan to get to 40. So at what point in time or 35, I say, do I start planning the 10-year outlook to get to 35 if I'm still planning for 30 right now?
Great question. I'll tell you what I do, and this is relevant for everybody listening, right? What I do is I don't necessarily pick fixed spots in time. I pick where I am today plus 10, and then work it back, right? So today I'm 51, so I'm looking at what 51 to 61 looks like. By the time I turn 52 next year, I'll just look at what 52 to 62 looks like. I'm always looking at what that next 10-year mark is and working back from there. And I have found that just kind of raises my level of achievement higher and higher each year, such that, what I hope to be able to do is get to a point where I'm looking ahead 10 years and saying, okay, well, you know what, it's enough. And so now I get to have different conversations. This isn't about earning. It's about earning passively. It's not about earning passively. It's about legacy, or about giving, or about those kinds of things. So I'm a rolling 10-year guy. Just like my annual goals, I'm not a January to December person, right? Only when forced to, do I look at things January to December. Like right now, my goals are set for the next 12 months. So it's from November 1st of this year through the end of October of next year. I'm always looking ahead 12 months. How is that going to change? What am I going to expect 12 months from now? And then a month later, I'm just building another, because that month that's gone is gone. And so now I need another 12 months. It's not like I only have 8 months or 7 months or 6 months. And, unless you plan to drop at the end of a certain period of time, right? You always get that extra couple of months for another 12 months. So my goals are always rolling. That doesn't work for everybody, but it works for me to keep my focus on always looking a year out, 10 years out, and pulling it back. I don't know if that helps or not, but. And Tammy says that the Eventbrite is fixed, by the way, for those of you who are interested.
I just got the dates wrong.
Well, there you go. And and Marion says in the chat, her big aha from Jean, big picture, 100%, right? And I'm not sure if you or John were talking about that LID exercise, the LID exercise. Boy, for those of you who missed that, go and watch day 1 of Jean just for the LID exercise. Because so I'm curious, did anybody actually go home and do it like I did? Come on, I can't be the only nerd in their entire room. There's like 30 of us. Somebody throw me a nerd lifeline. Maybe you all just have more of a life than I do. I was so excited by that exercise. I went home and did it twice. Like, all right, well, what if it looks like if I did it this way? What if it looks like if I did it this way? I'll tell you my aha from the exercise. If you really want to build a life that results in freedom, and I'm talking about financial freedom. The way I define financial freedom is I get to choose whether or not I want to come to work every day, right? Do the things I want to do when I want to do it and choose whether or not I come to work every day. That's my definition of financial freedom. If that's really something that you want to make show up in your life, that exercise, man, because guess what? You need way more money than you think you do. Way more money than you think you do. Frankly, it was a little depressing the first time I did it, which is why I did it a second time, because I thought, okay, you can't be depressed by this. You have to be excited by it. So I changed a couple of factors and I got myself excited. Right. But that's the idea of those kinds of exercises. Anybody else do it? Just by a quick show of hands for those of you who are visible? No? You know what I'm talking about though, yes? All right, so if you haven't done it.
So what was it? Sorry. That's
so it's the LID. So Jean did it day 1. It's the LID exercise, LID, lifestyle investment and what's the D?
Debt.
Lifestyle.
Debt.
Debt. Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Debt. And he called it the monetization of your big why.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I've seen Jean do that before. It's funny how different things hit you at different times. And so that really hit me on Wednesday. So monetizing your big why, figuring out what does your lifestyle want to look like? What is the investments you need to make to have that show up? Monetizing that, right? Because that then turns into how much do you have to make in order to buy assets that will throw off that kind of cash, right? And that go a half step back, right? The regional event. How many of you listen to Noah Ostroff? Right. So Noah Ostroff. One of the things that I just feel so completely blessed most of the time is that every single time I think that I'm thinking really big, somebody in this organization comes along and talks about what they're doing or their experience. And I'm like, oh, man, well, that's way bigger than what I'm doing. So let me retool yet again. right? I came home from that regional event and hold on, I'm gonna turn the recording off because I don't want this on.